Reach right to the bow, Hal explained, and that will put more downward pressure on the bow when you're under sail. This way, we'll compensate for that pressure. He indicated with his hand, describing an angle behind the mast support. We could even slope the edge of the new piece back a little toward the stern. That'd let us rake the mast back and give us even better purchase. Said Anders. The worried look was back on Bjarne's face. He hadn't understood the technical details Hal had spouted so confidently, but he understood meant Anders wasn't convinced. Never mind raking it back, Bjarne said quickly. I want my mast to stand square. Masts are supposed to stand square. That's what masts do. They stand square. Always have. After all, he thought, a raked mast would be a little too exotic. Hal grinned at him. He'd overseen the conversion of 4 square-rigged wolf ships to the Heron sail plan in the past months. He was used to the oldest girl's conservative views. Whatever you say, he replied agreeably. He stood and clambered up the sloping, inside of the hull, toward the gantry. Anders reached down a hand to help him. Now, have you made up your mind about the fin keel? Hal asked. He knew what the answer was going to be, even before Bjarne's head began to shake from side to side. I don't want you cutting any holes in the bottom of my ship, he said. She might sink. Hal smiled reassuringly at him. I did the same to the Heron, he pointed out. And she hasn't sunk so far. Bjarne continued, his head shaking. That's as may be, he said. But I don't see any good coming from cutting a hole in the bottom of a ship. It goes against nature. He noticed Hal's tolerant smile and frowned. He didn't enjoy being patronized by a boy, even if he suspected that the boy might be right. I don't care that you did it in your ship, he said. It might just be luck that she hasn't sunk. He paused, and added in a meaningful tone, So far. Hal shrugged. He hadn't expected Bjarne to agree to a fin keel. None of the wolf ship's girls had done so thus far. Suit yourself, he said. He turned to Anders. So, can you get your men started on an extension for the mast support? I can send you over a design sketch if you like. Anders nodded slowly. Anders did most things slowly. He was a deliberate man who didn't leap to decisions without pondering them. That was one of the things that made him an excellent shipbuilder. No need for a sketch, he said. I can work out how to manage it. Hal nodded. Anders was right, of course. The design work involved would be a simple matter for an experienced craftsman. He had really only offered out of politeness. Well then, he began, but he was interrupted by a booming voice. Hello, the ship! They all turned to see Arik, the Oberjarl of Skandia, on the path that led from the town. Anders's shipyard was set outside Hallisholm, so the constant noise of hammering and sawing, and the attendant curses, as fingers were mashed by incautiously wielded mallets, wouldn't disturb the townfolk. What's he doing here? Bjarne said idly. Anders sniffed, and wiped his nose with the back of his hand. He's on his morning constitutional, he said. Noticing Bjarne's puzzled glance, he added, his walk. He walks along here most days. Says the exercise keeps him slim. A ghost of a smile touched the corners of his mouth as he said the last few words. Hal raised an eyebrow. How can it keep him something he's never been? Arik was an immense bear of a man. Slim was not a word that sprang readily to mind when describing him. The Oberjarl was striding across the grass toward them now, flanked by Svengol, his constant companion and former first mate. What's that he's got? Bjarne asked. Arik was wielding a long, polished wood staff in his right hand, using it to mark his strides. The staff was about 1.5 meters tall, shod with a silver ferrule at the bottom, and adorned with a small silver knob at the top. At every third or fourth pace, he would twirl it between his powerful fingers, setting the sunlight flashing off the silver fittings. It's his new walking staff, Anders explained. There was a delegation in from Gallica 2 weeks ago, and they presented it to him. But what does it do? Hal asked.